Today on Comic Book Norm, I'm counting down 5 facts on the Green Machine himself, and no, I'm not talking about the Ninja Turtles or Piccolo. I'm talking about Swamp Thing, the half-human, half-plant DC superhero who happens to live in the murky swamps of Louisiana. So in no particular order, here are 5 Swamp Thing facts. Fact number 1. Swamp Thing first appeared in House of Secrets number 92, July 1971. The comic book opens up with Swamp Thing walking towards an old house where his former wife lives. We find out that Swamp Thing was formerly known as Alex Olsen, and with Damian Ridge were both scientists and best friends, and both were in love with a woman named Linda. Linda ends up marrying Alex, which makes Damian jealous. Damian devises a plan to kill his now married best friend Alex. Damian orchestrates an accidental explosion in Alex's lab and drags Alex's supposedly dead body into the swamp. With Alex dead, Damian marries the now widowed Linda. Over the course of their marriage, Damian starts suspecting that Linda knows the truth about Alex's death. With a hypodermic needle in hand, Damian prepares to kill Linda with lethal injection. Seeing this, Swamp Thing, smashes through the window and kills Damian, saving Linda's life. Unfortunately for Swamp Thing, Linda is now going completely ape bananas because some monster just killed her husband. Swamp Thing can't bear to see Linda so upset, and he walks away back into the swamp, knowing that he can never see Linda again. The short story is a bittersweet telling of Swamp Thing's origin. Fact number 2. He's the protector of the green. And no, I'm not talking about weed. In the DC universe, there exist beings called plant elementals, beings who were once animals who died and merged with the planet Earth, aka Swamp Thing. These beings were chosen by the green itself to be its protector. The green is an elemental force that connects all plant life on Earth, but it is not the only elemental force in the DC universe. You got the red, a force that connects animal life, the clear, which connects all aquatic life. Aquaman is one of its protectors. The gray, a force that connects all fungal life. Swamp Thing is also a protector of this force. The rot, a force mostly associated with death. All of these elemental forces sometimes clash with one another, so all of them have protectors themselves. I personally think the green should recruit the Hulk, or the Ninja Turtles, or Green Galactus, and there's Bushroot. And yes, the green also chose Alan Scott, the Green Lantern, as one of its protectors. Fact number 3. There was a Swamp Thing cartoon back in 1990 through 1991, and it was awesome. Just listen to the theme song, which was a parody of Wild Thing. Now that makes you wanna rock. Swamp Thing's origin is somewhat different from the comics. One night, scientist Alec Holland was working on an experiment in his lab, which was located in the swamp. Anton Arcane, who is the main baddie, along with his minions, called the Unmen, break into Alec Holland's lab and destroy it, and in the process accidentally turning Alec Holland into the Swamp Thing. Now Swamp Thing and his swamp friends must protect the swamp and all nature against the evil Anton Arcane. There was even a live-action Swamp Thing show, but come on, I was a kid, so I watched the cartoon instead. Fact number 4. Swamp Thing almost met Jesus. Let me elaborate. In what could have been the pages of Swamp Thing, Volume 2, Issue 88, Swamp Thing is traveling through time via magical time routes, meeting historical DC characters in different time eras. Writer and artist Rick Veitch was in charge of Swamp Thing, and he had written in advance a storyline where Swamp Thing ends up being the very wood that made up the crucifix that Jesus was crucified on. Yes, that's right, Jesus was nailed to Swamp Thing. This picture would have been the cover of issue 88. I'm not a religious man, but even I think that's wrong. And at the same time, awesome. Rick Veitch submitted the comic to the editors and they approved it. But of course, the DC higher-ups had to read it before it even went into production. And of course, they did not agree to publish the comic. They thought it was blasphemous. Rick Veitch offered to rewrite the comic to make it more family-friendly and less offensive towards religion, but the DC higher-ups still turned it down. Personally, I don't see what's the problem. It's just Swamp Thing meeting Jesus. It's not like Jesus was a real person. Fact number 5. He's a member of the Justice League Dark. Who does the Justice League call when they need ghost busting? They call the Justice League Dark. The Justice League Dark is not just a branch of the Justice League that deals with ghosts. They deal with threats that involve anything mystical or supernatural. Many of the characters are from Vertigo Comics, which DC Comics owns. Characters such as Swamp Thing and John Constantine. Here's a fact: John Constantine's first appearance was in the pages of the Saga of the Swamp Thing, number 37. In the pages of Justice League Dark, the House of Mystery goes missing. The House of Mystery belonging to John Constantine and also being the base of operations for the Justice League Dark. John calls upon Swamp Thing to use his connection with the Green to find the house, which of course Swamp Thing reluctantly refuses at first. Swamp Thing lends a hand or a twig, and upon finding the house and having an adventure searching for it, Swamp Thing becomes a member of the Justice League Dark. With the Justice League Dark comics being well received by fans, DC produced an animated movie about the group, which is a good introduction to fans who don't even know who the character Swamp Thing is. And with Swamp Thing being added to the Injustice 2 video game, we get more of good old Swampy. So that's just 5 facts about Swamp Thing. If you know any more, or if you're a fan of Swamp Thing, leave a comment below. For more comic book facts, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.